Hi, good day everyone. This is Lok here. Today, my group members and me are pressured to present freedom of speech in Malaysia and limitations. Freedom of speech is a very important pillar of a system based on law of a free society. This includes of the government strategies, needs and proposing selections measures are important to examine the expression of government. Although this is great part significant to good governance, freedom of speech is necessary for the progress of civilizations of the human being. It is also a part of personal satisfactions and fundamental human rights. In Malaysia, freedom of speech is a constitutional right guaranteed by Article 10 and warns that this right can be restricted in a proportional manner to project security, which is usually foreseeable in global human rights law. In addition, also is a foundation for a strong democracy in the whole country, to ensure to the fact that nationality, unity, racial or religious frameworks, but doesn't mean there has no any restrictions. The government has a promise to guarantee freedom of speech and expressions can reasonably limit this privilege to prohibit prompt contempt. However, even this contempt may cause a vicious or illegal act.
Alright guys, let me tell you the factor behind the existence of this law. It happened when the British colonized Malaya, and at that time the British colonial government introduced a judicial system and principle of law-based government aimed at safeguarding British political, economic and business interests. And through this, the establishment of several laws introduced by them to restrict freedom of expressions in Malaya, which is Emergency Regulations 1948, to detain any parties who try to challenge their positions in Malaya by allowing detentions without trial. Second, Printing Press Ordinance. Third, Seditions Ordinance. After the independence, the federal constitutions provide for the right to freedom and opinion for Malaysians based on Section 2 of Article 10(1) on freedom of speech, assembly and associations of the 1999 Federal Constitution. Article 10(1) mentions every citizen is free to speak and express opinion in Malaya. Second, all citizens have the right to assemble peacefully and are not allowed to bring weapons. Third, all citizens have the right to establish associations. There is another Article 10(4) which clearly states that imposing an interest in the security of the federations or any part of public interest under Clause 2A, Parliament can approve the act of prohibiting, the act of questioning any matter, right, status, positions, privilege, or severity that has been established or protected by the provisions of Section 3 of Article 152, 153, and 182. That's all from me. Thank you.
The people of Malaysia have the right to freedom of speech and expressions to a certain extent, but they must also adhere to existing laws and regulation. Under Malaysian law, spreading defamation about royal family members or anyone else can have serious legal consequences. Here are two freedom of speech and expressions. Number one is through media and social media. Malaysians can use traditional media and social media to speak and express themselves openly. These are primary channels through which opinions and views can be conveyed. Number two is through protests and demonstrations. Malaysians can organize protests and demonstrations to voice their dissatisfaction with the government or specific issues. Here are two limitations and penalties for Malaysians. Number one is defamation law. Spreading defamation about royal family members or other individuals can violate Malaysian defamation laws. Penalties for defamation can include fines or imprisonment. Number two is government oversight. The Malaysian government has mechanisms for monitoring media and internet content, and they can take actions if they believe the content violates the law. So, while the Malaysians do have the freedom of speech and expressions, they must also be cautious not to violate laws governing defamation and risk serious legal consequences if they spread defamation about royal family members or others.
The importance of freedom of speech. First, enable statement of truth. Views are allowed to compete in public to allow truth to be determined. Second, giving satisfaction to individual. Enable individual to convey view aimed at self-development and personality. Third, developing a democratic society. The survival of democracy depends on freedom of speech. Fourth, create a productive country. Truth expression or the right to speak the community will help together to give suggestion, useful information to prevent this from happening more seriously. Number five, the right to obtain information and permission through the voice of the people who want to know the development of the status released by the media or rumors about hot issues such as the increase in the oil price or corruption.
Hi madam, my name is Shankari Krishnamurthy. I'm talking about negative effect of freedom of speech and expression. First, freedom of speech can incite violence against other people. When someone commit an act of violence against another because they incite by hate speech to do, so then they made the choice to break the law. So must be held responsible for the personal choices that they make. Second, must be held responsible for personal choices that they make. The government is still dictating some of the things that we can say or cannot say. Third, freedom of speech will eventually polarize society. When people are allowed to express their opinion, others will agree, some will disagree. People tend to hang out in circle where others think and feel in similar way. Fourth, freedom of speech reduces the desire to compromise. Research also discovered that when people are consistently liberal or conservative with their freedom of speech, their idea of what compromise entails begin to shift, which that perspective of watching or listening become the challenges. Lastly, freedom of speech does not mean the freedom to have all the speech, which means the concept behind this freedom of speech is that you should be able to express way that does not create legal consequence. That's all from me, miss. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Conclusion for this topic. Throughout this discussion about freedom, especially freedom of expression, have encountered many difficulties. It has completed the pros and cons of human social order. And today these issues have become the focus of debate. Everyone should retain the privilege of speaking freely and express swiftly. This is the first step and goal of the general public and needs to achieve democracy and value. This means that individuals who are not free to speak and are prevented from speaking are required to enjoy this right. They should able to choose to communicate without restrictions. In this case, the state must consider and give equal rights to listen to everyone in public. In this way, the state must give the right to everyone, not only just the citizens. Thank you.